What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Cider and Port back for another video, and as the title suggests, this is the channel relaunch. Well, kind of soft relaunch. We'll kind of call it that. It's a soft relaunch. It's not a complete, but yeah, no, I am super fucking pumped for this, man. I genuinely really am. You know, I did like a few kind of like smaller things, like I reorientated like where my mic is. So it's not coming from like here, it's coming from over to the side, and like I have an awful lot more kind of freedom with my hands and stuff like that. I guess just kind of like, where did this come from, right? Like, where did this kind of come from? I had done a kind of like a shorter video about it, but I guess like, you know, longer explanation as to why, right? Basically where this came from, I kind of thought like in the last couple of panels that I was doing, essentially what was kind of happening was, you know, when I was waiting for people to kind of, you know, finish their points, right, and to get their point out and whatever else, which is obviously the point of having a panel, right? I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that or anything, but what I'm saying is that, like, you know, it came from a place of waiting for them to finish and then kind of keeping my thought in my head and being like, okay, is there a nicer, you know, way that I could say this? Is there a way that I could say this where it's not exactly what I'm thinking, but kind of like a toned down version of that? And there was, and that was kind of what I was saying when I was on those panels, right? So it wasn't like 100% like exactly what I was thinking. It was kind of like a toned down, it had gone through a filter, that sort of thing. So I was like, right, okay, fuck it. I'm gonna branch out on my own. I'm gonna do my own content. It's gonna be, you know, majority just me. I'm gonna be gaming. I am not like a massive, like, I'm a massive gamer, but I don't personally kind of view myself as like a very good gamer. So I'm playing, you know, I'm gonna be gaming. I'm gonna be playing games that I like to play. There's like PC mods and cheats and enhancements and stuff like that. Fuck it, I'm gonna be doing it. I don't give a shit. If you say that I'm a bad gamer, I don't care. All right, I don't care. Anyway, so as this is the State of the Union special, we should get right into it, and we should, well, watch the State of the Union special, right? So what I am playing, if you can't tell by the freeze frame, and genuinely, if you can, well, get out more. I am playing Final Fantasy X remaster for the PC. Now, the only problem with this is that it is locked at 30 frames a second. So I don't know how that's going to come across because I have the video set up to output at 60 FPS. So I'm not sure, but, you know, I'll see back in playback, or I'll see it whenever. But yeah, so that's what's going to be happening. There is also, right up there, is going to be the video reaction. That's going to be the State of the Union. It's not going to be obviously very big, because I do want the gaming to be kind of like the main kind of focus of it, and me just kind of then just like, well, you know, relaxing or whatever else. For a lot of this, I think I'm just going to kind of let it play through, and I'll just kind of add like little bits, or I'll say little bits kind of here and there, but I don't think that kind of like, you know, pausing, playing is going to work out very well. This is an hour-long speech, and if anybody is familiar with my channel, I literally turned a politics compass test into an hour. So that's not going to happen this time. I'm just going to be kind of, you know, throwing in little kind of tidbits and stuff like that, and it's just going to be little bits of information, little bursts of information kind of here and there. So anyway, so sorry for rambling and for everything else like that, and we're just gonna go straight into it, I think. Yeah, I do, however, have to do that, just whatever, but gotta hear that. Very loud. Is that very loud just for me, or is that for everybody?
Speaker, I don't want to ruin your reputation, but I look forward to working with you.
Okay.
And I want to congratulate the new leader of the House Democrats, the first African-American minority leader in history, Hakeem Jeffries. He won in spite of the fact I campaigned for him. Congratulations, the longest-serving leader in the history of the United States.
You say in spite of the fact I campaigned? I don't know if he said that, but anyway.
And congratulations to Chuck Schumer, another.
He seriously looks like a turtle.
Another term as Senate Minority Leader. I think you. Only this time you have a slightly bigger majority, Mr. Leader, and you're in a majority leader. About that much bigger? Yeah. Well, I tell you what. I want to give special recognition to someone who I think is going to be considered the greatest speaker in the history of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, see, like, this is what I don't like about this shit. It's all very fucking wishy-washy and very kind of like, let's fucking sit around and suck our own dicks and stuff like that, you know? Just fucking, oh, Jesus Christ.
Folks, the story of America is a story of progress and resilience.
See, this shit.
Of always moving forward, of never, ever giving up.
It's very politicsy. That's the only way that I can describe it. It's very politicsy.
That has emerged from every crisis we've ever entered stronger than we got into it. Look, folks, that's what we're doing again. 2 years ago, the economy was reeling. I stand here tonight after we've created, with the help of many people in this room, 12 million new jobs. More jobs created in 2 years than any president's created in 4 years because of you all, because of the American people. 2 years ago, and 2 years ago, COVID had shut down, our businesses were closed, our schools were.
How does it look actually, Matt Pig? Is that coming across, like,
COVID no longer controls our lives.
With the game and everything else?
2 years ago, democracy
is it coming across well?
Threats of the Civil War, and today, though bruised, our democracy remains unbowed and unbroken. As we gather here tonight, we're writing the next chapter in the great American story, a story of progress and resilience. When world leaders ask me to define America, and they do, believe it or not, I can define it in one word, and I mean this: possibilities.
Nobody asks you that.
We don't think anything is beyond our capacity. Everything is a possibility. You know, we're often told that Democrats and Republicans can't work together. But over the past 2 years, we've proved the cynics and naysayers wrong. Yes, we disagreed plenty. And yes, there were times when Democrats went alone. But time and again, Democrats and Republicans came together to defend a stronger and safer Europe. You came together to pass once in a generation infrastructure law, building bridges connecting our nation and our people.
About a third time there.
We came together to pass the most significant law ever, helping victims exposed to toxic burn pits. And in fact, it was important. And in fact, I signed over 300 bipartisan pieces of legislation since becoming president, from reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, the Electoral Count Reform Act, the Respect for Marriage Act that protects the right to marry the person you love.
Woo!
And to my Republican friends, if we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
There's a lot of reasons, actually, but we're not going to get into that now.
Folks, you all are as formed as I am, but I think the people sent us a clear message. Fighting for the sake of fighting, power for the sake of power, conflict for the sake of conflict gets us nowhere. That's always been my vision of our country, and I know it's many of yours. To restore the soul of this nation, to rebuild the backbone of America, America's middle class, and to unite the country. We've been sent here to finish the job, in my view. For decades, the middle class has been hollowed out in more than, and not one administration, but for a long time. Too many good-paying manufacturing jobs move overseas. Factories closed down. Once thriving cities and towns that many of you represent became shadows of what they used to be. And along the way, something else we lost: pride, our sense of self-worth. I ran for president to fundamentally change things,
It's this
to make sure our
politics
economy
shit,
works
man.
for
Just
everyone,
stop, man.
so we can all feel that pride in what we do. To build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down. Because when the middle class does well, the poor have a ladder up, and the wealthy still do very well. We all do well. I know a lot of you always kid me for always quoting my dad, but my dad used to say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. He really would say this. It's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay, and mean it. Well, folks, so let's look at the results.
I mean, I don't know about for anyone else, but for me, it's just about a fucking paycheck. But all right.
Unemployment rate is at 3.4%, a 50-year low. A near record unemployment.
But, you know, that's all right.
Near record unemployment for black and Hispanic workers. We've already created, through help, 800,000 good-paying manufacturing jobs, the fastest growth in 40 years. And where is it written? Where is it written that America can't lead the world in manufacturing? And I don't know where that's written. For too many decades, we imported projects and exported jobs. Now, thanks to what you've all done, we're exporting American products and creating American jobs. Folks, inflation has been a global problem because the pandemic disrupted our supply chains, and Putin's unfair and brutal war in Ukraine disrupted energy supplies as well as food supplies, blocking all that grain in Ukraine. But we're better positioned than any country on earth right now. But we have more to do. But here at home, inflation is coming down. Here at home, gas prices are down $1.50 from their peak. Food inflation is coming down, not fast enough, but coming down. Inflation has fallen every month for the last 6 months, while take-home pay has gone up.
That's what I was
Additionally,
okay, sorry. I'm pausing it for the first time, right? Because I forgot something that I was supposed to do, which was put the fucking speed, because Joe Biden doesn't talk very fast. So I'm going to try it at 1.5. We can bring it down to 1.25 if need be, but we're going to try it at that.
over the last 2 years, a record 10 million Americans applied to start new businesses. 10 million. And by the way, every time
1.25 is where we're going to go. So it's going to be that little bit faster. So it's not going to quite be like an absolute like hour long. But yeah, so I don't know. Sorry, I probably should have said this at the start. I don't know how long this video is going to be. It's pretty much just going to be until I get tired. Pretty much. So yeah, that's what it's going to be. So yeah, let's just burst on. 1.25 speed, so it is a little bit faster than it normally is, but yeah, here we go.
Every time someone starts a small business is an act of hope. And Madam Vice President, I want to thank you for leading that effort to ensure that small businesses have access to capital and the historic laws we enacted that are going to just come into being. Standing here last year, I shared with you a story of American genius and possibilities. Semiconductors, small computer chips the size of a fingerprint that power everything from cell phones to automobiles and so much more. These chips were invented in America. Let's get that straight. They were invented in America. We used to make 40% of the world's chips. In the last several decades, we lost our edge. We're down to only producing 10%. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when chip factories shut down overseas. Today's automobiles need 3,000 chips each of those automobiles. But American automobiles couldn't make enough cars because there weren't enough chips. Car prices went up, people got laid off. So did everything from refrigerators to cell phones. We can never let that happen again. That's why we came together to pass the Bipartisan Chips and Science Act. Folks, I know I've been criticized for saying this, but I'm not changing my view. we're going to make sure the supply chain for America begins in America. The supply chain begins in America. We've already created 800,000 new manufacturing jobs without this law, before the law kicks in. With this new law, we're going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs across the country. And I mean all across the country, throughout not just the coast, but through the middle of the country as well. That's going to come from companies that have announced more than $300 billion in investment in American manufacturing over the next few years.
It was a hard
Outside
beat.
of Columbus, Ohio,
A
Intel's
very
building
hard
semiconductor
beat.
factories
Jesus.
on 1,000 acres, literally a field of dreams. It's going to create 10,000 jobs, that one investment, 7,000 construction jobs, 3,000 jobs in those factories once they're finished. They call them factories. Jobs paying an average of $130,000 a year, and many do not require a college degree. Jobs. Because we work together, these jobs where people don't have to leave home to search for opportunity. And it's just getting started. Think about the new homes, the small businesses, the medium-sized businesses. So much more that's going to be needed to support those 3,000 permanent jobs and the factories that are going to be built. Talk to mayors and governors, Democrats and Republicans, and they'll tell you what this means for their communities. We're seeing these field of dreams transform to the heartland. But to maintain the strongest economy in the world, we need the best infrastructure in the world. And folks, as you all know, we used to be #1 in the world in infrastructure. We've sunk to 13th in the world. The United States of America, 13th in the world in
infrastructure? No fucking way, dude. No way is that true.
The largest investment in infrastructure since President Eisenhower's interstate highway system.
There's cities in the United States that are fucking crumbling. There's no way you 13th in the fucking world. That's bullshit.
Already we've funded over 20,000 projects, including major airports from Boston to Atlanta to Portland. Projects that are going to put thousands of people to work rebuilding our highways, our bridges, our railroads, our tunnels, ports, airports, clean water, high-speed internet, all across America. Urban, rural, tribal. And folks, we're just getting started. We're just getting started. And I mean this sincerely. I want to thank my Republican friends who voted for the law, and my Republican friends who voted against it as well. But I still get asked to fund the projects in those districts as well. But don't worry. I promised I'd be a president for all Americans. We'll fund these projects. And I'll see you at the groundbreaking.
I don't like the way he smiles. There's that really weird fucking, like, exaggerated crow's eye up here. I don't really like it.
Unite all of America.
He looks strange.
Projects like Brent Spence Bridge in Kentucky over the Ohio River, built 60 years ago. Badly needed repairs, one of the nation's most congested freight routes, carrying $2 billion worth of freight every single day across the Ohio River. And folks, I've been talking about fixing it for decades, but we're really finally going to get it done. I went there last month with Democrats and Republicans, and from both states, to deliver a commitment of $1.6 billion for this project. And while I was there, I met a young woman named Sarah, who's here tonight. I don't know where Sarah is. Is she up in the box? I don't know. Sarah, how are you? Well, Sarah, for 30 years, I learned, she told me she'd been a proud member of the Iron Workers Local 44, known as the Cowboys in the Sky. The folks who built Cincinnati's skyline.
I'm not
Sarah
getting this reference, I'm sorry.
Be 10 stories above the Ohio River building that new bridge. God bless her. That's pride. And that's what we're also building. We're building back pride. Look, also replacing poisonous lead pipes.
I don't get that reference, I'm sorry.
10 million homes in America. 400,000 school and child care centers. So every child in America can drink the water instead of having permanent damage to their brain. Look, we're making sure that every community in America has access to affordable high-speed internet. No parent should have to drive by McDonald's parking lot to help them do their homework online with their kids, which thousands were doing across the country. And when we do these projects, and again, I get criticized for this, but I make no excuses for it. We're going to buy American. We're going to buy American. Folks.
This is not supposed to be happening, but it's green anyway.
is totally consistent with international trade rules. Why America has been the law since 1933, but for too long, past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have fought to get around it.
So sorry, yeah. So I kind of suppose I should say, right? The reason why I chose to react to the State of the Union is because there was a clip from this that I will always be upfront with you, and I will say if I have seen a video that I am reacting to. I haven't seen this in its entirety. Obviously, it's a fucking hour long, right? But I have seen like bits of this, and I know that a fucking incredible moment is gonna pop up here for Joden. Where in the I don't even know. Like Joe, obviously, but Den. Where's Den coming from? Like that's anyway. That is a very white screen, and it is blowing me the fuck out. That is aggressive. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, so I'm massively kind of looking forward to you know, this bit that's going to pop up and stuff like that, and yeah. Why is my controller not fucking working? Because I haven't selected the fucking Yogi. Oh my god.
Not anymore. Tonight, I'm announcing new standards require all construction materials used in federal infrastructure projects to be made in America. Made in America. I mean it. Lumber, glass, drywall, fiber optic cable. And on my watch, American roads, bridges, and American highways are going to be made with American products as well. Folks, my economic plan is about investing in places and people that have been forgotten.
Again.
So many of you listen to me tonight. I know you feel it. So many of you felt like you've just simply been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind and treated like they're invisible. Maybe that's you watching from home.
What did he say there?
Remember the jobs that went away. You remember them, don't you?
Mecca.
Folks at home remember them.
That sounded like.
You wonder whether the path even exists anymore for your children to get ahead without having to move away. Well, that's why I get that. That's why we're building an economy where no one's left behind. Jobs are coming back. Pride is coming back because choices we made in the last several years. You know, this is, in my view, a blue-collar blueprint to rebuild America and make a real difference in your lives at home. For example, too many of you lay in bed at night like my dad did, staring at the ceiling, wondering what in God's name happens if your spouse gets cancer, or your child gets deadly ill, or something happens to you. What are you going to have money to pay for those medical bills? Or are you going to have to sell the house or try to get a second mortgage on it? I get it. I get it. With the Inflation Reduction Act that I signed into law, we're taking on powerful interests to bring healthcare costs down so you can sleep better at night with more security. You know, we pay more for prescription drugs than any nation in the world. Let me say it again. We pay more for prescription drugs than any major nation on earth. For example, 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. Many of you in this chamber do, and in the audience. But every day, millions need insulin to control their diabetes so they can literally stay alive. Insulin's been around for over 100 years. The guy who invented it didn't even patent it because he wanted it to be available for everyone.
That's true.
It
That's
costs
true.
the drug companies roughly $10 a vial to make that insulin. Packaging and all, you may get up to $13. But Big Pharma has been unfairly charging people hundreds of dollars, $400 to $500 a month, making record profits. Not anymore. Not anymore.
All right, let's go, Joe.
So many things that we did are only now coming to fruition. We said we were doing this, and we said we passed a law to do it, but people didn't know because the law didn't take effect until January 1 of this year. We capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors on Medicare.
Wow.
People are just finding out. I'm sure you're getting the same calls I'm getting. Look, there are millions of other Americans who do not or are not on Medicare, including 200,000 young people with type 1 diabetes and need this insulin to stay alive.
Bernie with the mask.
Let's finish the job this time. Let's cap the cost of insulin for everybody at $35.
Everybody should be standing and clapping right now. Everybody should be, and they're just not. There's so many people sitting.
Farmers still going to do very well. I promise you all. I promise you, they're going to do very well. This law also caps and won't even go into effect until 2025. Costs, out-of-pocket drug costs for seniors on Medicare at a maximum of $2,000 a year. You don't have to pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter how much your drug costs are. Because you know why? You all know it. Many of you, like many of my family, have cancer. You know the drugs can range from $10, $11, $14, $15,000 for the cancer drugs. If drug prices rise faster than inflation, drug companies are going to have to pay Medicare back the difference. We're finally giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices. Bringing down prescription drug costs doesn't just save seniors money. It cuts the federal deficit by billions of dollars, by hundreds of billions of dollars. Because these prescription drugs are drugs purchased by Medicare to keep their commitment to the seniors. Well, guess what? Instead of paying $400 or $500 a month, you're paying $15. That's a lot of savings for the federal government. And by the way, why wouldn't we want that? Now, some members here are threatening, and I know it's not an official party position, so I'm going to exaggerate.
Oh, is this it?
But threatening to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, no, it's not.
That's okay. That's fair. As my football coach used to say, lots of luck in your senior year. Make no mistake. If you try anything to raise the cost of prescription drugs,
that's actually really good. Looking good. That was a good line there. That was a really good line.
To say that more Americans have health insurance now than ever in history. A record 16 million people are enrolled in the Affordable Care Act. And thanks to the law I signed last year, saving millions are saving $800 a year on their premiums. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. So my plea to some of you, at least in this audience, let's finish the job and make these savings permanent. Expand coverage of Medicaid. Look, the Inflation Reduction Act is also the most significant investment ever in climate change. Ever. Lowering utility bills, creating American jobs, leading the world to a clean energy future. I visited the devastating aftermath of record floods, droughts, storms, and wildfires from Arizona to Mexico to all the way up to the Canadian border. More timber has been burned, that I've observed from helicopters, than the entire state of Missouri. And we don't have global warming, not a problem.
Missouri.
In addition to emergency recovery from Puerto Rico to Florida to Idaho,
wrong vowel, dude.
Long term. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires. Roads and water systems will withstand the next big flood. Clean energy to cut pollution and create jobs in communities often left behind. We're going to build 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations installed across the country by tens of thousands of IBEW workers. And we're helping families save more than $1,000 a year with tax credits to purchase electric vehicles and efficient appliances, energy-efficient appliances. Historic conservation efforts to be responsible stewards of our land. Let's face reality. The climate crisis doesn't care if you're in a red or blue state. It's an existential threat. We have an obligation, not to ourselves, but to our children and grandchildren to confront it. I'm proud of how America, at last, is stepping up to the challenge. We're still going to need oil and gas for a while.
It's very samey. That whole line, it's very samey. We've heard that before.
But there's so much more to do. We got to finish the job. And we pay for these investments in our future by finally making the wealthiest and biggest corporations begin to pay their fair share. Just begin. Look, I'm a capitalist.
Look at them all. Look at them all.
I think a lot of you at home agree with me and many people that you know. The tax system is not fair. It is not fair. Look.
I mean, well, no, obviously, but.
That in 2020, 55 of the largest corporations in America, the Fortune 500, made $40 billion in profits and paid zero in federal taxes? Zero? Folks, it's simply not fair. But now, because of the law I signed, billion-dollar companies have to pay a minimum of 15%. God love them. 15%. That's less than a nurse pays.
God love it. I love this, man. Fucking Dark Brandon coming out here, man.
Clear. I said at the very
I love
beginning,
it.
under my plans, as long as I'm president, nobody earning less than $400,000 will pay an additional penny in taxes. Nobody, not one penny. But let's finish the job. There's more to do. We have to reward work, not just wealth. Pass my proposal for the billionaire minimum tax. You know, there's 1,000 billionaires in America. It's up from about 600 in the beginning of the term. But no billionaire should be paying a lower tax rate than a school teacher or firefighter. I mean it. Think about it.
It's pretty fucking basic, right?
Look,
I mean, like, who can actually disagree with that? Who can disagree with that?
I'm enthusiastic about that, but think about it. Think about it. Have you noticed Big Oil just reported its profits, record profits? Last year they made $200 billion in the midst of a global energy crisis. I think it's outrageous. Why? They invested too little of that profit to increase domestic production. And when I talk to...
I've said this before, right? I've said this before. Not on stream, actually. I've said it in work when you're just kind of, you know, chatting with the lads. Like, the idea that we were in an energy crisis, or that we are in an energy crisis, is bullshit. Like, that's just not true, right? We are in an energy crisis when we go home, we flick the light switch, and the lights don't turn on. That's when you're in an energy crisis, okay? Your bill is paid on time, everything else like that, but there's literally just not enough juice going into the home to be able to turn the lights on, right? Then we are in an energy crisis. But the idea that like we can be in this, you know, be calling this a fucking energy crisis when companies all over the world, it isn't just in the US, it's here in Ireland too, they reported record profits last year when we were supposed to be in the middle of a fucking energy crisis. It's like, dude, like, seriously, this, like, you see, we are not in an energy crisis, we are in a profitability and greed and those types of crisis. That's what crisis we're fucking in. We're not in an energy crisis. The idea that you can say that we are, and yet all of these companies are fucking reporting record profits. They are taking advantage of the situation with Russia and Ukraine, and they are saying that, oh well, it's because of this that the fucking costs have gone up, so because we're just going to raise our prices so that we get even more in profits. That's what happened. They took advantage of a war so that they could make more money, which, I mean, is just fucking ridiculous. Yeah, anyway, look, sorry, there's my little rant over. We are not in the middle of an energy crisis. We are in a greed crisis. It's as simple as that.
A couple of them, they say, we're afraid you're going to shut down all the oil wells and all the oil refineries anyway, so why should we invest in them? I said, we're going to need oil for at least another decade, and that's going to exceed and beyond that.
Now, he got a lot of shit for this. He got a lot of shit for saying that, because I've seen two clips. I've seen that clip, and I've seen one that will be coming up. I've seen a lot of shit in this, right? So, okay, here's the thing. Obviously, solar, wind, hydro, any form of a renewable energy, that is obviously the way forward, right? And that's where we're trying to get to. But the idea that, like, if hypothetically, right, if we just stopped all oil production, right, all oil burning, all, like, everything that is powered from oil, if we were to just turn that off, right, now, the majority of the US, of the world, would just plummet into darkness, right? And like we like wouldn't have the power to be able to fucking turn any of the lights on or to like do anything like that. Like, the idea that like we can right now just go away from everything oil is ridiculous, and that's why a lot of people are like opening up or are widening up their idea to nuclear. Nuclear is not It's not the greatest. It's a little bit better than oil. It's nowhere near as good as solar, wind, hydro, but at the same time, like it is that little bit of a fucking stepping stone that we can use for, as Joe said, about a decade and a half, and then we can fully transfer to fully renewable energy. That's what we can do. So I know that he got a lot of shit from there, but I think it's these pipe dream people who think that we're ready to do that like right now, and that's just not, just simply just not the case. That did not play. There we go.
We're going to need it. Production. If they had in fact invested in the production to keep gas prices down, instead they used the record profits to buy back their own stock, rewarding the CEOs and shareholders. Corporations ought to do the right thing. That's why I propose we quadruple the tax on corporate stock buybacks and encourage long-term investments. They'll still make considerable profit. Let's finish the job and close the loophole to allow very wealthy to avoid paying their taxes. Instead of cutting the number of audits for wealthy taxpayers, I just signed a law to reduce the deficit by $114 billion by cracking down on wealthy tax cheats. That's being fiscally responsible. In the last 2 years, my administration has cut the deficit by more than $1.7 trillion, the largest deficit reduction in American history. Under the previous administration,
that's pretty good.
The American deficit went up 4 years in a row. Because those record deficits, no president added more to the national debt in any 4 years than my predecessor. Nearly 25% of the entire national debt that took over 200 years to accumulate was added by just one administration alone, the last one. They're the facts. Check it out. Check it out. Congress responded to that.
They did not like that.
They did the right thing. They lifted the debt ceiling 3 times without preconditions or crisis. They paid American bills to prevent an economic disaster to the country. So tonight I'm asking the Congress to follow suit. Let's commit here tonight to the full faith and credit of the United States of America will never, ever be questioned. So some of my Republican friends want to take the economy hostage. I get it, unless I agree to their economic plans. All of you at home should know what those plans are. Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority.
This is it. Oh, this is okay. This is going to be fucking incredible. Just watch, okay? I'm actually going to take it back a couple of seconds, right? Just listen to what he says, listen to their reaction, and then just fucking follow in this absolute masterclass.
Instead of making the wealthy pay their fair share, some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority. Let me give you, anybody who doubts it, contact my office. I'll give you a copy. I'll give you a copy of the proposal. That means Congress doesn't vote. Well, I'm glad to see you. And I tell you, I enjoy conversion. You know, it means if Congress doesn't keep the programs the way they are, they'd go away. Other Republicans say, I'm not saying it's a majority of you. I don't even think it's even a significant, but it's being proposed by individuals. I'm not politely not naming them, but it's being proposed by some of you. Look, folks, the idea is that we're not going to be moved into being threatened to default on the debt if we don't respond. Folks, as we all apparently agree, Social Security and Medicare is off the books now, right? They're not to be sponsored.
Fucking listen to that, bro. Listen to that. Listen to that. He basically, right, he went in front of all of Congress and he said that some of you are thinking of doing this, etc., right? They all went fucking apeshit, booing him, calling him a liar, fucking MTG or fucking Congress's Karen, fucking shouting out, liar, all this fucking shit. By the way, he is 100% not lying. He did a follow-up interview where he, like, named the 3 people, and it was more specifically DeSantis out of Florida. I think it was. It was definitely out of Florida. I think it was DeSantis who had said that he was going to create a sunset on Social Security, Medicare, and it would have to be voted on every 5 years, right? So that's what he was proposing. But what he did in doing that, I don't even think that was like planned. I don't think you could have planned for that. I just think that like he is actually a little bit sharper than people give him credit for, because yeah, he has his gaffes, and you know he has a stammer, and he trips over his words a lot and everything else like that, right? But he was able to read the room in real time. He was able to be like, okay, how can I like take advantage of the situation that I find myself in? I'm live on TV. I'm having hundreds of millions of people at home and abroad watch this, who are going to watch this. Me, who is fucking streaming and reacting to it. You have all of these things to then say, all right, okay, so all that's off the table then. You're not going to touch Social Security. You're not going to touch Medicare. Brilliant, because now if any bills come out after this that go after Social Security and or Medicare, he can now go out. He can do a fucking press conference, get in front and be like, they all booed me, they all called me a liar, but now look, here they are, and they are bringing forth bills, and they are cutting Social Security and they're cutting Medicaid, just like they hated when I did it, but fuck, I knew I was right. He is in such a fucking power position. Jesus Christ, man, that was unironically a fantastic fucking move. Like just brilliant. Let's burst on with the rest of it.
All right. Good. We got unanimity. Social Security, Medicare are a lifeline for millions of seniors. Americans have to pay into them from the very first paycheck they started. So tonight, let's all agree, and we apparently are. Let's stand up for seniors. Stand up and show them. We will not cut Social Security. We will not cut Medicare. Those benefits belong to the American people. They earned it. And if anyone tries to cut Social Security, which apparently no one's going to do, and if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it.
Fantastic, man. Absolutely fucking...
Be taken away. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. But apparently it's not going to be a problem. Next month, when I offer my fiscal plan, I ask my Republican friends to lay down their plan as well. I really mean it. Let's sit down together and discuss our mutual plans together. Let's do that. I can tell you, the plan I'm going to show you is going to cut the deficit by another $2 trillion. And it won't cut a single bit of Medicare or Social Security. In fact, we're going to extend the Medicare Trust Fund at least 2 decades, because that's going to be the next argument. How do we keep it solvent, right? Well, we'll not raise tax on anyone making under 400 grand, but we'll pay for it the way we talked about tonight, by making sure that the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share. Look. Here's the deal. They aren't just taking advantage of the tax code. They're taking advantage of you, the American consumer. Here's my message to all of you out there. I have your back. We're already preventing Americans from receiving surprise medical bills, stopping $1 billion surprise bills per month so far. We're protecting seniors' life savings by cracking down on nursing homes that commit fraud, endanger patient safety, prescribe drugs that are not needed. Millions of Americans can now save thousands of dollars because they can finally get a hearing aid over the counter without a prescription. Look.
You fucking whoa. You need a fucking prescription for a hearing aid? Why do you need a prescription for it? What, like, that's not how it fucking happens here. There's like dedicated places that like make and manufacture hearing aids that will, like, you go into their like shop, their store, they will do a test for you to see if you're hard of hearing and what type of hearing aid you're going to need, etc., etc., etc. and then you just get the hearing aid, then just from them, you're already in the store. Why do you like? I mean, because prescription to me says that you go to a doctor, and but like your doctor is not a fucking specialist in that sort of. Really? Oh, okay. You can't get a hearing aid with a script. You would get it under durable medical equipment coverage. Yeah, but I mean, like, the process of going by getting, like, a prescription, right? Like, is that literally, like, you just go to the doctor and then that's it? Because, like, I don't know, man. Like, that just seems like such a fucking bad system. Like a really fucking bad system. It's not about where you get it. It's about how it is paid for. Oh, right. Oh, okay. No, it's just because like that just like it just seemed like that was the process. I mean, like that just seemed ridiculous. That needed to fucking stop. But anyway, sorry.
It's extortion. It's exploitation. Last year, I cracked down with the help of many of you on foreign shipping companies that were making you pay higher prices for every good coming into the country. I signed a bipartisan bill to cut shipping costs by 90%, helping American farmers, businessmen, and consumers. Let's finish the job. Pass the bipartisan legislation to strengthen antitrust enforcement and prevent big online platforms giving their own products an unfair advantage. My administration is also taking on junk fees, those hidden surcharges too many companies use to make you pay more. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket price up front, refund your money if your flight is canceled or delayed. We reduced exorbitant bank overdrafts by saving consumers more than $1 billion a year. We're cutting credit card late fees by 75% from $30 to $8.
Look, good.
Junk fees may not matter to the very wealthy, but they matter to most other folks in homes like the one I grew up in, like many of you did. They add up to hundreds of dollars a month. They make it harder for you to pay your bills or afford that family trip. I know how unfair it feels when a company overcharges you and gets away with it. Not anymore. We've written a bill to stop it all. It's called the Junk Fee Prevention Act. We're going to ban surprise resort fees that hotels charge on your bill. Those fees can cost up to $90 a night at hotels that aren't even resorts. The idea that cable, internet, and cell phone companies can charge you $200 or more if you decide to switch to another provider. Give me a break. We can stop service fees on tickets to concerts and sporting events and make companies disclose all the fees up front. And we'll prohibit airlines from charging $50 round trip for family just to be able to sit together. Baggage fees are bad enough. Airlines can't treat your child like a piece of baggage. Americans are tired of being. We're tired of being played for suckers. So pass the Junk Fee Prevention Act so companies stop ripping us off. For too long, workers have been getting stiffed, but not anymore.
Again, that's just a bill. Like, how can you be against that?
For example, I should have known this, but I didn't until 2 years ago. 30 million workers have to sign non-compete agreements with the jobs they take. 30 million. So a cashier at a burger place can't walk across town and take the same job at another burger place and make a few bucks more. It just changed. But they just changed it because we exposed it. That was part of the deal, guys. Look it up. But not anymore. We're banning those agreements so companies have to compete for workers and pay them what they're worth. And I must tell you.
Okay, I'm sorry, right? I have a slight tangent to go on here, right? So, in my escapades into Discord, I came across a server that is hosted by someone who, like, I have kind of become friends with, all right? Like, she's an all right person and whatever, but it's just, like, but anyway, right? She had said, like, when we were having a conversation about AOC, who kind of weirdly is in the fucking frame, where she was like, oh, you know that, like, she doesn't kind of have any, like, like class or like respect for the government body that she's a member of, you know, that like she's doing all this like bitching and whining and stuff like that, right? If Trump was giving any of these speeches, right, any of the State of the Union, any of them, and he started to do this thing where and the Democrats started heckling him, right, and like shouting out from the fucking crowd, they would have lost their fucking minds. They would have gone absolutely apeshit had that have happened. Like absolutely fucking apeshit. Okay, they like would have been screaming from the fucking rooftop. Like no, like they're just so rude and they're so this and they're so, you know, they're so aggressive and you know they just would have just lost their fucking goddamn minds, right? But for some reason they can fucking do it. They can heckle. They can shout out. They can, you know, interrupt. They can be rude. They can be, you know, argumentative. All these things. But it's just we can't. If we do it, we're fucking awful, and like, you know, like all of us should just die. But they can perfectly fucking do it. Like this, like I don't know. Look, to me, that doesn't actually. Okay, I don't fucking care if you show up to Congress in a full fucking suit and tie, or if you show up in like a fucking baggy hoodie and a pair of sweatpants, right? I do not actually give a fuck. Okay, I understand there's like a dress code, whatever the fuck, right? But like to me, it doesn't actually matter, because to me, what matters is what policies you are in favor of and what policies you are going to be fighting to get implemented. That is what matters to me. I don't give a fuck what you look like and like what you're dressed like, right? There is a Irish member of the Irish government who literally shows up. He was famous for it. He showed up in a pink t-shirt or a pink shirt every single day that he was going into the Irish government, right? He is now on the he is now on one of the boards in the EU. So he's a much bigger job, much bigger platform and stuff like that. And again, he's still showing up in the pink t-shirts and the pink shirts. But he as a policymaker was really fucking good. And he went out and he called them out on their bullshit. He was no holds barred. He was just straight up absolutely calling them out, letting them have it, whatever. That is what I fucking care about. That's what I like. So it's just, to me, I don't give a fuck if you wear a pink t-shirt, if you wear a like, you know, fucking oversized hoodie and fucking sweatpants that still has a fucking cum stain in them, right? I don't give a shit what you wear. It's just your policies. But it's just to do with the class thing as well. It just doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, I can feel myself rambling, but I needed to get that rant out. So here we go.
This is bound to get a response from my friends on my left but the right. I'm so sick and tired of companies breaking the law by preventing workers from organizing. Pass the PRO Act, because business have a right. Workers have a right to form a union. And let's guarantee all workers have a living wage. Let's make sure working parents can afford to raise a family with sick days, paid family medical leave, affordable child care.
Yeah. Yep. Yes to all of it.
Millions of more people to go and stay at work. And let's restore the full child tax credit, which gave tens of millions of parents some breathing room and cut child poverty in half to the lowest level in history. And by the way, when we do all these things, we increase productivity, we increase economic growth. So let's finish the job and get more families access to affordable quality housing. Let's get seniors who want to stay in their homes the care they need to do so. Let's give more breathing room to millions of family caregivers looking after their loved ones. Pass my plan so we get seniors and people with disabilities the home care and services they need. And support the workers who are doing God's work. These plans are fully paid for and we can afford to do them.
God damn.
Restoring the dignity of work means making education an affordable ticket to the middle class. You know, when we made public education, 12 years of it, universal in the last century, we made the best educated, best paid, we became the best educated, best paid nation in the world. The rest of the world's caught up. It's caught up. Jill, my wife, who teaches full time, has an expression. I hope I get it right, kid. Any nation that out-educates us is going to outcompete us. Any nation without education can outcompete us. Folks, we all know 12 years of education is not enough to win the economic competition of the 21st century. If you want to have the best educated workforce, let's finish the job by providing access to preschool for 3 and 4 years old. Studies show that children who go to preschool are nearly 50% more likely to finish high school and go on to earn a 2 or 4 year degree, no matter their background they came from. Let's give public school teachers a raise.
Yes! 100% give public school teachers a raise. Tax the billionaires and make that taxes go specifically into their pocket.
Increasing Pell Grants for working and middle class families. Let's finish the job and connect students to career opportunities starting in high school. Provide access to 2 years of community college. The best career training in America, in addition to being a pathway to a 4-year degree. Let's offer every American a path to a good career, whether they go to college or not. And folks, in the midst of the COVID crisis, when schools were closed and we were shutting down everything, let's recognize how far we came in the fight against the pandemic itself. While the virus is not gone, thanks to the resilience of the American people and the ingenuity of medicine, we've broken the COVID grip on us. COVID deaths are down by 90%. We've saved millions of lives and opened up our country. We opened our country back up, and soon we'll end the public health emergency. But that's called a public health emergency. But we'll remember the toll and pain that's never going to go away. More than 1 million Americans lost their lives to COVID. 1 million. Families grieving, children orphaned, empty chairs at the dining room table constantly reminding you that she used to sit there. Remembering them, we remain vigilant. We still need to monitor dozens of variants and support new vaccines and treatments. So Congress needs to fund these efforts and keep America safe. And as we emerge from this crisis stronger, we're also got to double down on prosecuting criminals who stole relief money meant to keep workers and small businesses afloat. Before I came to office, you remember, during that campaign, the big issue was about inspector generals who would protect taxpayers' dollars who were sidelined. They were fired. Many people said we don't need them. And fraud became rampant. Last year, I told you the watchdogs are back. Since then, we've recovered billions of taxpayers' dollars. Now let's triple the anti-fraud strike force going after these criminals, double the statute of limitations on these crimes, and crack down on identity fraud by criminal syndicates stealing billions of dollars from the American people.
Yeah.
And the data shows that for every dollar we put into fighting fraud, the taxpayers get back at least 10 times as much. It matters. It matters. Look, COVID left its scars, like the spike in violent crime in 2020, the first year of the pandemic. We have an obligation to make sure all people are safe. Public safety depends on public trust, as all of us know. But too often that trust is violated. Joining us tonight are the parents of Tyree Nichols. Welcome.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I did not know that they were there. Wow. I did not know about this. I genuinely didn't.
To bury Tyree last week. As many of you personally know.
Wow.
There's no words to describe the heartache or grief of losing a child. But imagine if you lost that child at the hands of the law.
Yeah.
Imagine having to worry whether your son or daughter came home from walking down the street, playing in the park, or just driving a car. Most of us in here have never had to have the talk that brown and black parents have had to have with their children. Bo, Hunter, Ashley, my children. I never had to have the talk with them. I never had to tell them if a police officer pulls you over, turn your interior lights on right away. Don't reach for your license. Keep your hands on the steering wheel. Imagine having to worry like that every single time your kid got in a car. Here's what Tyree's mother shared with me when I spoke to her. When I asked her how she finds the courage to carry on and speak out. The faith of God, she said her son was, quote, a beautiful soul, and something good will come of this. Imagine how much courage and clarity that takes. It's up to us, to all of us. We all want the same thing. Neighborhoods free of violence. Law enforcement who earns the community's trust. Just as every cop when they pin on that badge in the morning has a right to be able to go home at night. So does everybody else out there. Our children have a right to come home safely. Equal protection under the law is a covenant we have with each other in America. We know police officers put their lives on the line every single night and day. And we know we ask them in many cases to do too much to be counselors, social workers, psychologists, responding to drug overdoses, mental health crises, and so much more. In one sense, we ask much too much of them. I know most cops and their families are good, decent, honorable people, the vast majority. But they risk their lives every time they put that shield on. But what happened to Tyree in Memphis happens too often. We have to do better.
Yeah.
Give law enforcement the real training they need. Hold them to higher standards. Help them succeed in keeping us safe.
That's the other thing that I fucking heard, man, is that, like, fucking police officers over in the States, they only need, like, is it, like, 6 weeks of training? Something like that? Like, that, I mean, like, I'm sorry, man, like, that's just not even fucking close to enough. Like, in order to become a member of the police force here, you need to have a 4-year college degree. And we don't even allow our police to carry guns. Like, the idea that it only takes 6 weeks, you just cannot get to the level where you understand what to do in these various circumstances and know how to react properly and know what to do in that situation, how to de-escalate. The idea that you know how to do that in 6 weeks, it's impossible. It's simply impossible. There is so much needed to be done reform-wise with the American police. I mean, it's almost too much to list. The absolute first thing, if it was up to me, let's just say, the absolute first thing that I would do is get rid of arrest quotas. Because it literally says you have to make a certain amount of arrests per day. You have to do that. You have to show wait, what the fuck was I saying? Oh, yes, sorry. You have to have a certain amount of arrests every single day. And the idea that we can put a number on the amount of arrests that you have to make, and if you don't make that amount of arrests, that, you know, you can be penalized in some way or something like that, is just insane to me. It's just insane to me. If they were gone, would what happened to Tyree Nichols happened? Would it have happened? Because there was a lot of us that pointed to Breonna Taylor as the perfect like hypothetical on what an innocent human being is. But the facts of the case around Tyree Nichols actually one-ups that. He was completely and utterly innocent. He had done absolutely nothing wrong. He was pulled over at a red light and 5 men beat him to death. I mean, it is unconscionable. It is shocking. It is jarring. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. Like, when I read the details of this story, and when I had read the facts and had listened to what happened, like when I looked at George Floyd and the case that happened there, you know, I was filled with sadness and, you know, I mean, just anger because it shouldn't have happened and it didn't need to happen, and there was a lot of steps that could have prevented George Floyd's death. But just the idea that I cannot properly explain how I reacted when I first heard about this story, but I just know that it was even more than George Floyd. It just made me sick to my stomach. Just the idea that five men and not one of them fucking said, like, stop kicking him when he's on the fucking ground. It's just like, how did we get to a point in life and in society where that just can happen? You know, I mean, it just unconscionable, just unconscionable, and I was, yeah. I genuinely did not know that his parents were going to be in the audience, and well done to Joe for getting them there. Yeah, I just, like, some serious, unbelievable fucking reform needs to happen with the US police, or this sort of shit is going to keep fucking happening. Oh, sorry. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Safe. We also need more first responders and professionals to address the growing mental health, substance abuse challenges. More resources to reduce violent crime and gun crime. More community intervention programs. More investment in housing, education, and job training. All this can help prevent violence in the first place. And when police officers or police departments violate the public trust, they must be held accountable. With the support of the families of victims, civil rights groups, and law enforcement, I signed an executive order for all federal officers, banning chokeholds, restricting no-knock warrants, and other key elements of the George Floyd Act. Let's commit ourselves to make the words of Tyler's mom true. Something good must come from this. Something good.
Yeah.
And all of us, folks, it's difficult, but it's simple. All of us in this chamber, we need to rise to this moment. We can't turn away. Let's do what we know in our hearts that we need to do. Let's come together to finish the job on police reform. Do something. Do something. That was the plea of parents who lost their children in Uvalde. I met with every one of them. Do something about gun violence. Thank God. Thank God we did. Passing the most sweeping gun safety law in 3 decades. That includes things like that the majority of responsible gun owners already support. Enhanced background checks for 18 to 21 years old. Red flag laws, keeping guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves and others. But we know our work is not done. Joining us tonight is Brandon Say, a 26-year-old hero. Brandon put his college dreams on hold to be at his mom's side when she was dying from cancer.
I don't know who this is.
And Brandon now works at the dance studio started by his grandparents. And 2 weeks ago, during the Lunar New Year celebrations, he heard the studio door close, and he saw a man standing there pointing a semi-automatic pistol at him. He thought he was going to die, but he thought about the people inside. And in that instant, he found the courage to act and wrestle the semi-automatic pistol away from the gunman who had already killed 11 people in another dance studio. 11.
Shit, man.
He saved lives. It's time we do the same. Ban assault weapons now. Ban them now.
Yep.
once and for all.
Yep.
I led the fight to do that in 1994. In 10 years, that ban was law, mass shootings went down. After we let it expire in the Republican administration, mass shootings tripled. Let's finish the job and ban these assault weapons. And let's also come together on immigration. Make it a bipartisan issue once again. We know we now have a record number of personnel working to secure the border, arresting 8,000 human smugglers, seizing over 23,000 pounds of fentanyl in just the last several months. We've launched a new border plan last month. Unlawful migration from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela has come down 97% as a consequence of that. But American border problems won't be fixed until Congress acts. If we don't pass my comprehensive immigration reform, at least pass my plan to provide the equipment and officers to secure the border. And a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those on temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Here in the people's house, it's our duty to protect all the people's rights and freedoms. Congress must restore the right Congress must restore the right
What was
that was taken away in Roe v. Wade and protect Roe v. Wade.
what was shouted out there? I didn't hear it.
Give every woman a consular right. The Vice President and I are doing everything to protect access to reproductive health care and safeguard patient safety. But already more than a dozen states are enforcing extreme abortion bans. Make no mistake about it. If Congress passes a national ban, I will veto it. But let's also pass the Bipartisan Equality Act to ensure LGBTQ Americans, especially transgender young people, can live with safety and dignity.
Yeah. Let's go, Brandon.
Our strength is not just the example of our power, but the power of our example. Let's remember the world's watching. I spoke in this chamber 1 year ago, just days after Vladimir Putin unleashed his brutal attack against Ukraine. A murderous assault, evoking images of death and destruction Europe suffered in World War II. Putin's invasion has been a test for the ages, a test for America, a test for the world. Would we stand for the most basic of principles? Would we stand for sovereignty? Would we stand for the right of people to live free of tyranny? Would we stand for the defense of democracy? For such defense matters to us because it keeps peace and prevents open season on would-be aggressors and threatens our prosperity. 1 year later, we know the answer. Yes, we would, and we did. We did. And together, we did what America always does at our best. We led. We united NATO. We built a global coalition. We stood against Putin's aggression. We stood with the Ukrainian people. Tonight, we're once again joined by Ukraine's ambassador to the United States. She represents not just her nation, but the courage of her people. Our ambassador is here. We're united in our support of your country. Will you stand so we can all take a look at you? Thank you. Because we're going to stand with you as long as it takes.
Oh, yeah.
Our nation's working for more freedom, more dignity, more peace, not just in Europe, but everywhere. Before I came to office, the story was about how the People's Republic of China was increasing its power and America was failing in the world. Not anymore. We made clear, and I made clear in my personal conversations, which have been many, with President Xi, that we seek competition.
Kind of sounded like he was, but I've made it fucking clear.
No apologies that we're investing to make America stronger. Investing in American innovation and industries that will define the future that China intends to be dominating. Investing in our alliances and working with our allies to protect advanced technologies.
Who the fuck is shouting?
Used against us. Modernizing our military to safeguard stability and deter aggression. Today, we're in the strongest position in decades to compete with China or anyone else in the world. Anyone else in the world. And I'm committed. I'm committed to work with China where we can advance American interests and benefit the world. But make no mistake about it. As we made clear last week, if China threatens our sovereignty, we will act to protect our country, and we did. Look, let's be clear. Winning the competition should unite all of us. We face serious challenges across the world. But in the past 2 years, democracies have become stronger, not weaker. Autocracies have grown weaker, not stronger. Name me a world leader who changed places with Xi Jinping. Name me one. Name me one. America's rallying the world to meet those challenges, from climate to global health, to food insecurity, to terrorism, to territorial aggression. Allies are stepping up, spending more, and doing more. Look, the bridges we're forming between partners in the Pacific and those in the Atlantic, and those who bet against America are learning how wrong they are. It's never, ever been a good bet to bet against America. Never.
I'll go into my conclusions on this sort of stuff once that's finished.
Well, when I came to office, most assured that bipartisanship assumed was impossible, but never believed it. That's why a year ago I offered a unity agenda to the nation as I stood here. We made real progress together. We passed a law making it easy for doctors to prescribe effective treatments for opioid addiction. We passed the gun safety law, making historic investments in mental health. We launched the ARPA-H drive for breakthrough in the fights against cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and so much more. We passed the Heath Robinson PACT Act, named after the late Iraq War veteran whose story about exposure to toxic burn kits I shared here last year. I understand something about those burn pits, but there's so much more to do. We can do it together. Joining us tonight is a father named Doug from Newton, New Hampshire. He wrote Jill, my wife, a letter, and me as well, about his courageous daughter, Courtney. A contagious laugh, his sister's best friend, her sister's best friend. He shared a story all too familiar to millions of Americans and many of you in the audience. Courtney discovered pills in high school. It spiraled into addiction and eventually death from a fentanyl overdose.
Oh, wow.
She was just 20 years old.
Jeez.
Describing the last 8 years without her, Doug said, "There's no worse pain." Yet their family has turned pain to purpose, working to end the stigma and change laws. He told us he wants to start a journey toward American recovery. Doug, we're with you. Fentanyl is killing more than 70,000 Americans a year. You got it.
Jesus fucking Christ, Marjorie, shut the fuck up.
So let's launch a major surge to stop fentanyl production in the sale and
just shut the fuck up, you just unbelievably, moronically stupid, insufferable cunt. Just shut the fuck up. Jesus fucking Christ. She had this video that she put out that she was like, oh, you know, like, her life is so much more miserable now because she's in Congress and, you know, she's not happy with her life. Just fucking resign then. You will make everybody's life easier. Why does she have to be such a fucking insufferable bitch? Like, literally, she's just a waste of human skin. She's a waste of she's just Jesus fucking Christ. But I yeah, sorry, just continue.
With more drug detection machines, inspection cargo, stop pills and powder at the border. Working with couriers like FedEx to inspect more packages for drugs. Strong penalties to crack down on fentanyl trafficking. Second, let's do more on mental health, especially for our children. When millions of young people are struggling with bullying, violence, trauma, we give them greater access to mental health care at their schools. We must finally hold social media companies accountable for experimenting they're doing, running children for profit. It's time to pass bipartisan legislation to stop big tech from collecting personal data on our kids and teenagers online. Ban targeted advertising to children and impose stricter limits on the personal data that companies collect on all of us. Third, let's do more to keep this nation's one truly sacred obligation to equip those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home. Job training, job placement for veterans and their spouses as they come to return to civilian life. Helping veterans afford the rent, because no one should be homeless in America, especially someone who served the country.
100%, yeah. There should be no such thing as a homeless veteran. Just end the discussion. Full stop.
Dennis McDonough is here of the VA. We had a first real discussion when I asked him to take the job. I'm glad he did. We were losing up to 25 veterans a day on suicide. Now we're losing 17 a day to the silent scourge of suicide. 17 veterans a day are committing suicide. More than all the people being killed in the wars. Folks, VA is doing everything it can, including expanding mental health screening, proven programs that recruits veterans to help other veterans understand what they're going through, get them the help they need. We got to do more. And fourth, last year, Jill and I reignited the cancer moonshot that I was able to start with President Obama asked me to lead our administration on this issue. Our goal is to cut the cancer death rates at least by 50% in the next 25 years, turn more cancers from death sentences to treatable diseases, provide more support for patients and their families. It's personal to so many of us in this audience. Joining us are Morris and Candice, an Irishman and the daughter of immigrants from Panama. They met and fell in love in New York City and got married in the same chapel as Jill and I got married in New York City. Kindred spirits. He wrote us a letter about his little daughter, Ava, and I saw her just before I came over. She was just a year old when she was diagnosed with rare kidney disease, cancer. After 26 blood transfusions, 11 rounds of radiation, 8 rounds of chemo, 1 kidney removed, giving a 5% survival rate. He wrote how in the darkest moments he thought, if she goes, I can't stay. Many of you have been through that as well. Jill and I understand that like so many of you. And he read Jill's book describing our family's cancer journey and how we tried to steal moments of joy where we could with Bo. For them, that glimmer of joy was the half smile of their baby girl. It meant everything to them. They never gave up hope. Little Ava never gave up hope. She turns 4 next month. They just found out Ava's beating the odds, is on her way to being cured of cancer. And she's watching from the White House tonight if she's not asleep already.
Wow, man.
For the lives we can save. For the lives we can save and the lives we've lost, let this be a truly American moment that rallies the country and the world together and proves that we can still do big things. 20 years ago, under the leadership of President Bush and countless advocates and champions, he undertook a bipartisan effort through PEPFAR to transform the global fight against HIV/AIDS. It's been a huge success. He thought big. He thought large. He moved. I believe we can do the same thing with cancer.
Fucking Kevin McCarthy now, look, he's fucking standing now because he's praising Bush. Jesus Christ, he's so unbelievably fucking partisan.
Once and for all. Folks, there's one reason why we've been able to do all of these things. Our democracy itself. It's the most fundamental thing of all. With democracy, everything's possible. Without it, nothing is. For the last few years, our democracy has been threatened and attacked, put at risk, put to the test in this very room on January the 6th. And then just a few months ago, an unhinged big lie assailed and unleashed a political violence, the home of the then Speaker of the House of Representatives, using the very same language the insurrectionists used as they stalked these halls and chanted on January 6th. Here tonight in this chamber is a man who bears the scars of that brutal attack, but is as tough and as strong and as resilient as they get. My friend Paul Pelosi. Paul, stand up. But such a heinous act should have never happened. We must all speak out. There's no place for political violence in America. We have to protect the right to vote, not suppress the fundamental right. Honor the results of our elections, not subvert the will of people. We have to uphold the rule of law and restore trust in our institutions of democracy.
Yep, 100%.
We must give hate and extremism in any form no safe harbor. Democracy must not be a partisan issue. It's an American issue. Every generation of Americans has faced a moment where they have been called to protect our democracy, defend it, stand up for it. And this is our moment. My fellow Americans, we meet tonight at an inflection point, one of those moments that only a few generations ever face, where the direction we now take is going to decide the course of this nation for decades to come. We're not bystanders of history. We're not powerless before the forces that confront us. It's within our power of we, the people, We're facing the test of our time. We have to be the nation we've always been at our best. Optimistic, hopeful, forward-looking. A nation that embraces light over dark, hope over fear, unity over division, stability over chaos. We have to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. We're good people. The only nation in the world built on an idea. The only one. Other nations are defined by geography, ethnicity. But we're the only nation based on an idea that all of us, every one of us, is created equal in the image of God. A nation that stands as a beacon to the world. A nation in a new age of possibilities. So I've come to fulfill my constitutional obligation to report in the State of the Union. And here's my report. Because the soul of this nation is strong, because the backbone of this nation is strong, because the people of this nation are strong, the State of the Union is strong. I'm not new to this place. I stand here tonight having served as long as about any one of you have ever served here. But I've never been more optimistic about our future, about the future of America. We just have to remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
All right, so that was the State of the Union. I really liked that. I actually really liked that. Yeah, like it was just really good, like just genuinely. Um you know, I don't like the way that, like, and it's not just Biden, it's all of the presidents all of the time. But when they have to do this thing about, like, oh, like, we're the best at this, or we're number one in the, it's that whole kind of politics. Yeah, because there's a difference between policy and politics, right? Policy is what you're in favor of. That's what you're likely to vote on and stuff like that. But the politics side is like, you have to, play this part, and you have to try and go along to get along and whatever else. And yeah, it's just that it's the kind of very obvious pandering and stuff like that I don't really like. But that's for anybody, that's for any president. Yeah, there wasn't like an awful lot about that I didn't like. It was really fucking good. He had a lot of really strong moments there. Obviously the part where, he fucking used reverse psychology to get Republicans to say that they're not going to touch Social Security. I mean, so like that was just fucking genius. That was incredible. But yeah, no, I thought it was really good. I thought it was really decent. But yeah, so next time I wanted, so like this was, it's a relaunch of the channel, it's a rebranding of the channel, but it's also the State of the Union special, right? So it was a little bit special, basically. It was a little bit different than how it's normally going to go. So how this is normally going to go is, it's just going to be me in the corner with the game in the background. There's no video, or there's not going to be as many videos. It's just going to be me doing a little bit of gaming, something that I'm not especially good at, but I do like doing. And I'm just going to be talking about stuff that's been happening, right? So, like, a couple of things that I kind of plan on talking about is stuff that happened with, like, Sam Smith, of recent, the fact that they have become under fire, and there's a lot of these other issues around that. There's fuck else was good? There was a few things like that. There was the controversy surrounding, like, Hogwarts Legacy. I want to talk about that. there was a few people online that were really kind of like annoyed that about what Harry Styles said in his acceptance speech for his Grammy. I want to talk about that as well. And again, so that's going to be kind of more so what the channel is going to be. It's just going to be a couple of topics that I want to talk about, or if you want to suggest a topic down in the comments, absolutely fucking feel free to. You know, or if you want to ask me any questions, something that you've just wanted to ask me but I haven't had the chance to, fucking go for it. You know, I mean, like I want it to be as engaging with the live chat as possible, right? Because like you guys are what keep the fucking channel interesting for me and for everybody else, you know, because you like you'll say something or you'll do what you know that is unique to this channel and to the live stream, and you know it changes it and whatever else. So I do like that, but yes, so yeah, it's just gonna be pretty much that. It's just, you know, a few topics, my honest, unapologetic, unfiltered opinions on everything. I'm going to be much more kind of I'm not going to hold back as much anymore, or as what I have done on like previous videos on the old format. So I have the next couple of days off work, so I'm kind of thinking either Sunday night or Monday night. That's when I'm probably going to stream next. I'm not 100% sure which one just yet, but it will be one of those two. I actually really like this. I just found it more just kind of, I was more relaxed this stream in compared to, you know, previous streams, or like where there's not as many, you know, or where I would have like more people on the panel and stuff like that. I really liked this one. I felt more relaxed. I felt more just kind of chill the fuck out, you know, because with so many different people talking and interested, you know, you kind of have to like pay extra attention, whatever else, and then you're trying to think, and it's just bleh. So yeah, this one was much more relaxed. I'm definitely liking the new format. Please tell me what you guys thought. If you want to DM me on like Twitter or Discord or anything else like that afterwards, and just let me know. That's no problem if you want to do that. But yeah, look, until not only a few days time. For now, thank you all, you beautiful human beings, for showing up. Thank you to everybody in the live chat, everybody commenting along. And yeah, like, subscribe, do all of that YouTuber bollocks, and I shall talk to you in the next one.